Good morning everybody. I am Dr. Nitin Doshi, Professor in Neurology with teaching experience of 25 years, working as consultant neurosurgeon in Panvel for more than 30 years. Today we will discuss principles of emergency nephrectomy in case of emphysematous pyelonephritis. Usually emergency nephrectomy in case of emphysematous pyelonephritis is required in case of acute, severe, life-threatening, suppurative, necrotizing infection of renal parenchyma in a diabetic patient with or without urinary tract obstruction, where CT findings show presence of streaky or mottled gas with absence of intrarenal or extrarenal fluid collections. Both the findings suggest rapid destruction of renal parenchyma, hence high mortality rate with tune of 75%. Due to diabetes and severe infection, setting up of vicious cycle, that is diabetes predisposed to rapid high suppurative infection, and infection results into uncontrolled diabetes. So in a given patient, there is always a chance of uncontrolled diabetes mellitus causing ketoacidosis, hence metabolic acidosis with fluid electrolyte acid-base imbalance. Due to severe suppurative necrotizing infection, chances of sepsis, systemic inflammatory response syndrome, septic shock with hemodynamic instability, with thrombocytopenia, with or without DIC. Also, due to severe infection of renal parenchyma in presence of diabetes mellitus, which may have resulted even diabetic nephropathy on long-term basis, there may be evidence of acute renal failure. So, majority of times, patient who require emergency nephrectomy for emphysematous pyelonephritis may be in ICCU for resuscitation and supportive treatment. Patient initially should be resuscitated by one broad spectrum IV antibiotics for covering gram positive, gram negative, anaerobes and superadded infection by fungal infection by antifungal. Second, control of diabetes by injectable insulin. Third, control and correction of fluid electrolyte acid-base imbalance. Fourth, correction of anemia, hypoproteinemia which may be present. Then vasoactive support with noradrenaline drip with or without dopamine or dobutamine drip. Central line for CBP monitoring. Requires counseling of patient's relative for high risk consent for on-table death or perioperative mortality. SOS if patient recovers, long-term ICCU management, SOS need for ventilator, and consent for intraoperative intercostal drain insertion. Procedure is performed under general anesthesia. After anesthesia, lithotomy position is given for cystoscopy with insertion of 6 French open-ended ureteric catheter for easy and early identification of ureter in retroperitoneum. The ureter then can be traced upwards toward renal pelvis. Renal pelvis is one of the hilar structure, hence isolation of pedicle becomes easy, though proper identification of pedicle is difficult in phlegmon. Most commonly, thoracoabdominal incision is required. So after insertion of open-ended ureteric catheter with PU catheterization for intraop monitoring of urine output, typical flank position is given. The incision, whether 10th rib bed or 11th rib bed, is decided on CT finding, that is extent of upward extension of phlegmon. Also, depending upon the level and extent of phlegmon, the incision on anterior abdominal wall is extended either in straight line up to umbilicus or in a curved direction. The other principle is liberal incision. Initially only subperiosteal rib resection is done for initial approach and advantage of retroperitoneal dissection. After retroperitoneal rib resection, retroperitoneal space is opened with dissection in retroperitoneal space by gradually inserting 2 or 3 wet mops gradually one after another in upward and downward direction, thereby achieving passive dissection. This dissection is continued till psoas major muscle is exposed medially. On psoas major muscle, stented ureter is identified, isolated, hooked, which is traced upwards up to renal pelvis. Incision on anterior abdominal wall is extended either in straight line up to umbilicus or in curved fashion after reflecting peritoneum, which lies under surface of transversus abdominis muscle, thus preventing injury to peritoneum and hence intraperitoneal organs. Many times, necrotizing phlegmon may be adherent to large intestine or loops of small intestine or other visceral organs. Hence, deliberate and early opening of peritoneum after confirming absence of any loop of small intestine in fold of peritoneum is essential, thus preventing injury to intraperitoneal organs. Phlegmon is usually foul smelling, necrotic, liquefied kidney which may involve even perinephric and paranephric fat. Due to gross edema and inflammation, all normal tissue planes around kidney and peritoneum or even extraperitoneal fat in relation to kidney are obliterated. Also, identification of individual artery or vein is impossible. At the same time, due to gross infection, inflammation and suppuration, control of any injured vessel becomes difficult. So try to find plane between kidney or Girota's fascia and surrounding structures. Principle is to do blunt dissection very slowly, meticulously by finger or suction near the renal parenchyma, and to do step by step release of adhesions by dissection by mixture, and then whatever dissected part of the adhesion is then caught, clamped, ligated near the surface of kidney, thus mobilizing entire kidney, that is lateral surface, lower pole, upper pole, till one reaches the pedicle. 2 pedicle clamps are applied serially near the kidney, which are clamped, cut, ligated with 2-0 vicryl. The ureter which is left is again cut and ligated. If pleura has opened, that is sutured after inserting ICD tube. After closure of peritoneum, wash is given. Kidney bead is lowered and then wound is closed in layers after infiltration of local anesthetic drug. If there is presence of severe dense adhesions due to previous repeated attacks of pyelonephritis, then one may have to perform subcapsular nephrectomy. Thank you very much.